nation's crack cocaine epidemic is taking a new and dangerous turn. Some of those violent street gangs from Los Angeles are now trafficking in drugs in cities far from their own turf. We have a report tonight from Bob McNamara.
The cuffs, the cops, the guns, the plan an all too familiar one. It's another night, another crack raid. But this is not New York, Los Angeles, or Detroit. This is Oklahoma City.
Crawl! Get down on your hands!
Today, crack cocaine use here is an epidemic, up 200% in the last year.
Every time we think the situation is as bad as it can be, we're wrong. It can get a hell of a lot worse, and that's what's happening. I don't think we have a lot of time.
As many as 10 times a week now, and again this morning, Oklahoma City police raid crack houses. Even during the searches, buyers appearing at the door.
Come on in. Come on in.
Please! Don't even think about it!
It seems like you take off one of these people, and there's two to take their place.
You're talking probably 200 plus crack houses, plus in the neighborhood of 3,000 dealers.
But Oklahoma City's not alone with the crack nightmare. The FBI now saying that Los Angeles gangs have franchised crack operations in more than 25 cities. Towns as unlikely as Omaha, Kansas City, Denver, even York, Pennsylvania, bedrock middle America. It's a matter of economics.
The rock of crack cocaine is $25 in Oklahoma City. In LA, you can probably buy the same rock for $5 or $10.
And yet, no matter how much is seized, no matter how many are prosecuted, the demand is very high and the supply seems to be endless.
Not just stealing guns, TVs, and jewelry to feed their habits, Oklahoma junkies swap meat and food stamps too.
I'd stay high, I'd say 11 hours a day, 11, 12 hours a day, and then I'd get burnt out on it and go to bed and wake up and do some more.
Unfortunately, we are not winning the war on drugs.
I can say we will win that war.
In a Bible Belt city where oil riches flow to the state capitol steps, the crack epidemic has brought a gusher of grief. Police not worried about a drug explosion this summer, they're too busy trying to make it through the night. Bob McNamara, CBS News, Oklahoma City.
In the rioting that followed the first King trial, two of LA's most notorious gangs forged a truce. But despite that, last year was the worst ever for gang violence, as Cindy Kennard reports.
The mean streets of Los Angeles County are getting even meaner. Startling new numbers reveal 801 people died in gang violence in 1992, a bloody new benchmark.
Where else in this nation, or maybe in the world, you have a group of criminals killing 800 people?
Sheriff's Department, we have a search warrant. Open the door!
An ambitious police crackdown and a much-heralded gang truce couldn't stop the violence. 1992 has become the 5th year in a row for record-setting gang killings. 2 out of 3 of the murders come from Latino gangs, where violence has exploded. Many new members are immigrants from war-torn Central America, where there is little regard for the law.
If you deported this time, you think you'll come back?
What do you think? It's kind of like a competition now. They're getting a little more crazier. We have to get a little bit more crazier.
And the craziness continues to claim the innocent. A high school senior gunned down in a McDonald's, a cheerleader caught in gunfire while crossing the street, and the latest, fatal firefights at funerals.
There are no rules. That's the way it is today. There's literally no rules.
Sergeant Joe Gooseman works East LA. He has little hope of stopping the gang murders as long as it's accepted, even glorified in the movies. And in music, and gang clothing promoted as fashionable. Some are trying new ways to keep the death toll down, giving gang members alternatives. In this Venice studio, it's art. 7 current and former gang members are helping to create statues for an LA museum.
If I wasn't, doing this right now, the temptation is out there, to do other things,
It's not as simple as like taking away guns or saying, why don't you make a truce? The alternative is each of us helping with what we can help with.
For now, the number of dead stands at 801, but it's been another bloody month in LA, and some experts predict 1992's ominous record will be surpassed in 1993. Cindy Kennard, CBS News, Los Angeles.
Tonight's Eye on America investigation uncovers a hidden dimension to a horrible crime, the slaughter in Ensenada, Mexico last month that left 19 dead. CBS's Bill Whitaker has been digging into this and discovered there's not only a drug connection, but a possible U.S. connection.
1 month after 19 men, women, and children were massacred in Ensenada, still no official explanation of who committed the murders or why. At a high-profile drug burn this week, Jose Luis Chavez, the general leading the investigation, admitted he has nothing concrete. But sources tell CBS News the assassin's main target, Fermin Castro, worked for the most ruthless of Mexico's drug gangs, the Arellano Felix brothers Cartel of Tijuana, and that he was rubbed out, along with his family, for letting a rival trafficker use his airstrip. CBS News also has learned from a very high-level source close to the investigation that the intelligence gathered so far strongly indicates that some of the gunmen who committed the massacre here were from the United States. Hardcore gang members who slipped across the border from Southern California. Jesus Blancornelas, a crusading Tijuana newspaper editor, says importing American gunmen would fit a deadly pattern, and he should know. Last Thanksgiving, assassins seriously wounded him and killed his driver. One of the hitmen killed in the crossfire was a gang member from San Diego. California gang members recruited by the cartel also have been linked to the shocking murder of the Catholic cardinal from Guadalajara in 1993.
They start hiring these gang members from the Southern California gangs to do the dirty work of killing.
So this journalist always travels with heavily armed bodyguards, one more sign of the growing ties between Mexican and American gangs.
If this is what is going on, Tijuana and California will be the new Colombia.
The new Colombia.
The new Colombia.
He says the only way to avoid the kind of narco-violence that has racked that South American country is for Mexico and the U.S. to work together. But when Americans offered to send forensic specialists to help investigate the Ensenada massacre, Mexico turned them down. General Chavez told us there's no need for American help in this investigation. Americans say Mexican pride is hampering the border drug war. Mexicans call that Yankee arrogance. Either way, it translates into lack of cooperation, which only plays into the hands of the bad guys on both sides of the border. In Tijuana, this is Bill Whitaker for Eye on America.
Today, 43 people were indicted in San Diego for murder and kidnapping, including a Mexican government official. And outside Monterrey, Mexico, 23 bodies were found yesterday at a dump site used by drug gangs. As Bill Whitaker reports, the cartels are now using the same ruthless tactics as Al-Qaeda.
Responding to an emergency call of a policeman shot in downtown Juarez, an officer and a paramedic worked frantically to save the man's life when, in a flash, Mexico's drug war takes a dramatic and frightening turn. For the first time, drug gangsters used a car bomb as a weapon. The wounded man was a decoy dressed in a uniform to lure police to the bomb. An officer, a paramedic, and the decoy died in the blast. Then, over the weekend, this strange and ominous graffiti appeared, warning the U.S. FBI to investigate corrupt Mexican officials or expect more car bombs.
The use of a car bomb clearly represents a tactical escalation. We have seen the first car bomb. There probably will be more.
Mexico has been bleeding and crying since President Felipe Calderón declared war on drug cartels 4 years ago. He deployed 45,000 troops, but so far they're no match for ruthless drug gangsters, flush with guns and money, 25 billion or more annual profits, selling drugs to the U.S. Recently, President Calderón blamed the U.S. for Mexico's troubles, writing in an editorial, "The origin of our violence problem begins with the fact that Mexico is located next to the country that has the highest levels of drug consumption in the world."
The way they see it, they are fighting our war on drugs.
Especially on the border. 140 drug slayings in Nogales, Mexico this year, more than all of last year.
There's a lot of homicides in any hour, any day of the week.
Nowhere is bloodier than Juarez. The city just across from El Paso, Texas, is more dangerous than Baghdad, with more than 1,000 drug-related slayings so far this year.
The war that they're having is a tremendous all-out war.
An all-out war that, with this bombing, just took a turn for the worse. Bill Whitaker, CBS News, Nogales,
Another night of
Mexico.
gang violence in Los Angeles. 2 young men killed, one stabbed to death, the other shot to death in what the police say was an act of revenge. A 14-year-old girl was critically wounded in a drive-by shooting. All told, gang violence has killed more than 560 people now in Los Angeles. That is a record, and officials have decided it calls for a change of tactics. Ron Allen reports.
Authorities in California have started attacking street gangs as if they're criminal organizations, just like the mob.
Jeffrey.
Hundreds of suspected gang members have been identified.
Very unhappy with you. You even got a red knife, homie.
And issued written warnings under the state's new Street Terrorism Enforcement Act.
I'm putting you on notice that you're a gang member.
The controversial law is modeled after the federal organized crime statutes. It essentially makes participating in a gang a criminal offense.
These guys, being that they are gang members, are basically committing a crime pursuant to this law.
But critics insist that's merely guilt by association. They charge police trying to identify gang members have taken the Terrorism Act too far and illegally stopped and searched suspects who've not committed a crime.
It's not illegal to be a member of any organization, even a street gang. What's illegal is if you're part of an organization that engages in criminal activity and you have some participation.
I don't look at it as a violation of their rights because they do sell drugs. We don't see them selling drugs at that moment.
But you know it's happening.
Sure.
And if police have that information, they shouldn't be putting people up against the wall and searching them for no reason. They ought to arrest them.
Once a gang member has been served notice, convictions for any crime carry stiffer penalties. Police insist that a lot of gang members who know they could be arrested for just being part of a criminal organization have gone underground.
These gangbangers are more frightened of paper than they are of bullets.
But there are still more than 80,000 known gang members in Los Angeles. Membership is growing. Residents who've been demanding more police protection are not seeing results.
They just haven't showed the signs of success in being able to effectively get a handle on the problem.
Law enforcement insists that solving the gang problem requires creative techniques, but they're aware the street terrorism law has not yet been tested in court. A challenge is expected early next year. Ron Allen, CBS News, Los Angeles.